the majority single family, and then we have a mobile home park with 7 mobile homes. Yeah. And then one of those we sold. The other Airbnb used to be 2. One of those is an Airbnb.
Cool.
And so that's what our portfolio looks like right now.
Talk to us about how you're finding deals these days. Are you willing to buy anything on market, on the MLS? Are you only looking at stuff off market? Do you guys have a guy who's bird dogging them like you said your buddy was back in the day?
So I buy the majority of mine right now. I've been buying them on market. I bought 2 at the end of last year. They're both on market. And, what's happening is homes are starting to sit longer. And so people, like if you look at them on market, they don't make sense. Like the numbers didn't make sense, but I knew what I had to get them at. And I have that private capital that I can get to and do quick closes. And so I went in and made offers on these properties. I waited till they were sitting over 30 days, both of them, and offered at what, based on my formula. One of them, I think both of them I offered at 100. One I ended up getting at 90 because I leveraged the inspection after and said, hey, there's some more things here than I thought. Plus I'm going to be able to close in 10 days so you can move up to Michigan. That worked. And they were listing that at 130. The other one they were listing at 140, got it under at 105. It was an estate. They just wanted to get rid of it. The parents had died. And so I was like, hey, I'll buy it at 105. I tried to drop it down and they're like, we can't go any lower. And they were hardballing me. And I was like, okay, I'd love a little bit better margins, but fine. So I got it at 105. So on market right now, it's not most deals aren't making sense when you look at them. But if you dig in and realize why are these people buying, how do you make a compelling argument for what the price really should be? You can still get good deals. And I'm always looking for off-market deals. I don't cold call. I got a guy in our mentorship. He does wholesaling as well. And he says it's about 43 hours of calls per like 1 or 2 deals. I'm not doing that. Are you kidding me? Like, I don't need to do that. I make really good money with what I do. Like, I'm going to find them on market. I'm going to network with other investors. That's another big place that I buy deals is from other investors. They get it. And that's a great place to buy. I tell everybody and I'm on wholesalers lists and that's what works for me.
Yeah. What advice would you give to someone who has greedy margins? Like for instance, I haven't bought anything in 2 years because of my margins, right? I'm always looking for 70% of ARV. And the fact that you do have access to private capital, your margins.
But everybody has access to it. You just have to think about it.
Well, you need to find the people that you're going to be going for.
If you needed it, you could find it today.
Well, I needed it on my first place. And
if you had a good deal, I would fund it for you.
No,
I'm not pounding on my chest saying I got all the money in the world. I'm just saying if I had a really good deal, I could bring it to you and you could fund it.
You just don't need it bad enough. You're like me. I don't have to have it to live. So I don't have a 200-door portfolio.
Well, my fear is just simply that it's right now we've only seen the market go up for like the last, 10 years, 11 years. So right now in my mind, I'm like, my luck, I'm gonna buy it. Market's gonna tank. I won't be able to refinance it. It's like, that's the whole fear.
I think you're looking for that grand slam that he was talking about before where you could just be happy with some singles.
That's the problem. The singles are hard to process when you're thinking about, okay, well, I got to do this. What if something goes wrong? How do you underwrite, shit goes wrong margins?
Well, I look and in our area, housing, okay, in the areas that I buy, even in 08 or 09, whenever, I think they dropped 10%, 15%, right? I already got, 20% equity built in off the get-go before anything's paid down.
Yeah, it would have to change really, really drastically.
Real estate in the burbs where I buy traditionally hasn't taken 50% hits like the stock market does. Now you start getting in Austin, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, LA, San Fran. It's up and down. New York City. But you're talking about Anderson, South Carolina, it's not going to happen, And so, I may take a little bit of a hit on paper, but
not more than 20%.
Cover it. Yeah. And as long as you can cover your payment, if you're making the payments to the bank, they don't want it.
Would you say this is a fact or a myth? People who can't find deals in their own backyard should go look out of state and out of areas or nationally?
Definitely. I think and I teach this all the time and I've done it and I'm in it. So it's not fair for me to act like so flippant about it, but it's really not that hard. It really isn't. It just takes a little bit of that work on the front end. And there's so many resources now to break into any market. And there's so many good markets. I drew a map out. I was on a coaching call last night. I drew a map out. And essentially, if you go from like Nebraska over to Iowa, down to Indiana, Ohio, all the way down to South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, and just do the whole Midwest, Southeast. And then you go in those areas and look at the little micro cities. And when I say micro cities, I'm not talking about Atlanta, Charlotte, Nashville. I'm saying like Lexington, Kentucky, Greenville, South Carolina, Chattanooga, Tennessee. And then you go on the outskirts of that, you're going to be able to find deals where you're like, well, I don't know what neighborhoods. Well, neither do I, but I guarantee you by the end of the day, I could tell you which ones. You know why? Because I'm going to join the local real estate group in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and then I'm going to call every property management company in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and then I'm going to get on LandGlide, and I'm going to look up 10 different investors who own properties in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I'm going to be like, hey, I live in Anderson. I'm looking to expand my portfolio into Chattanooga. I need B to C class neighborhoods. My, the ballpark of pricing I'm looking in is 100 to 150. Where should I be looking? And boom. And then I just hop on Zillow or Privy and check it out. And then if I'm close, I go drive there. If I'm not, then I'll hop on. You can get on a Bigger Pockets website, and they have a link that you can find investment realtors. So then I'm going to call realtors who help investors in Chattanooga. Hey, I want to buy in these areas. Can you clarify that they're pretty good areas for rentals? And then, I guarantee I could probably do that in an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And so, yes, to answer your question, sorry, I went on a rant there. Yeah, you could buy anywhere.
You see the passion behind it. Now, how about this? In terms of understanding the political, like for instance, a buddy of ours that we had on the podcast earlier on, Angel Garcia, he was paying attention to density issues happening in his state. And right before California released, where they allowed DADUs and ADUs, the auxiliary, detached auxiliary units, attached auxiliary units, where if you had a 40 by 100 lot, you can increase the value almost immediately. So they locked up so many lots under contract right when they first found out. And then they were able to essentially dominate that low threshold or that niche in the marketplace. Do you teach that? Do you preach that? Or what's your thoughts on that?
I don't have the time personally to attack those little like hot niches. What I do, and then the target student of mine is, hey, I work a job. Hey, I have a family. Hey, I'm coaching my kids' sports. Hey, I'm involved in church. Hey, we're in the community. How do I build a portfolio of rental properties without it taking up all my time? And so for me, I just try to stay focused. I've branched out and bought some other things that were brought to me, but I'm just focusing on that one thing. And for me, single family homes in those class areas have made me very wealthy in a short amount of time, and it appeals to the masses. One of the reasons I love it. What is the American dream? It's to own a home. And so you buy single family homes. It's easy to get in. Banks like lending to them. You get better tenants. Think about the tenants who want to move into an apartment compared to a house. Not necessarily they're better people, but they're normally more stabilized. And then if you want to sell those, not only can you sell them to investors, but now you can fix it up and sell it to somebody who wants to buy their dream home. And so for me, it's like, hey, I'm going to stay in my lane. I'm going to let all these other guys talk about, I want to go buy an RV park. I want to go buy a mobile home park. I want to go I'm going to do Airbnb arbitrage. I want to go flip this. I'm like, you guys just keep going. But old JD is just going to keep doing his steady Eddie, and y'all holler at me in about 2 more years, and you probably won't be able to find me, because I'll be off the grid somewhere. So not really. But, anyways, that's kind of my thoughts on it.
So other than the fact that it appeals to more of a marketplace or a better tenant, is there any reason in addition to that you only target single family niches?
It's very easy to get into. So I know a lot of people, and I really know a lot of, I say that, it sounds douchey. I didn't mean it like that. I know a lot of people now because the brand Finance Cowboy has grown so much. And so I could break into other niches. Like I could get people go, why don't you buy apartment complexes? Well, I could buy apartment complexes, but now you're dealing with a whole different type of real estate. Now we're having to raise capital from other people, and we got other people skin in the game and other people kind of giving me, feedback in my ear and where's our money? What's the returns? And so I like it for its simplicity. I like it because the single investor can do it, but I will say there's nothing wrong with the others, and you can probably make more money if you want to go manage people's investments and go buy big deals. That's fine. But I think that single family homes give you stability. I really think they give you stability. Now, once you have that stability and you got good income coming in and everything's good, there's nothing wrong with diversifying. Like you can get more cash flow in other assets. Like you look at a mobile home park. I owned a mobile home park. We actually just sold it 3 days ago, and the cash flow was ridiculous. But I had these mobile homes that I own that are going down in value. Mobile homes don't go up in value. So I bought a depreciating asset. Now also on the land. So the land in theory over time would have gone. You never buy a mobile home and not the land under it. Just FYI, anybody listening to this, you always at least buy the land. And then the homes are the cherry on top with cash flow. But, that was after I had some stability and skin in the game. So,
yeah, like I agree with your whole method. I guess the preference, and there's no right or wrong answer. It's everybody's preference and what they're comfortable with. And a lot of investors just stay in their niche. Like I know people who will stay in like 30, 40 unit buildings only. And they're like, the roof of a 2-family costs the same as a roof on a 10 unit building.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stay with that in that lane. But I guess the rule of thumb that I was always taught is that singles are always liabilities. And I guess for us, tenant issues are a little bit more of an issue. We're in a blue state. You guys are red state, right? That's so you're lucky. So we if there's a tenant that is not paying in a single family, you're completely screwed and gridlocked. There's 2 ways to assess a value, and you said it. You hit it right on the head. You can assess it based off of a return on investment through an investor, or a single family would appeal to a primary end user, which has an emotional value that you can't really put on paper, and that has a premium for it. However, for multi-units, it's based off of comparable resales and return on investment. So
that cap rate.
Exactly. So if you had a 3-unit building that instead of renting it out to long-term tenants, but you Airbnb'd it, you'd be able to sell it on a cap based off the Airbnb rents as long as it's stabilized. So then you could drastically increase the value.
And there's about to be a lot of those for sale, because what these guys did is they went in
restrictions
like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and they bought them with the idea of, they're going to refinance, right, and pay their investors back. Well, they didn't know the interest rates. If you were to get an interest rate on a big commercial building right now, it's probably 8 or 9%, and they're wanting 50% equity.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to pay up that equity, and now when you thought you were going to get into a 5% loan, now you're at 9%. There's going to be a lot of opportunities. So you guys keep your eyes open for those big commercial buildings right now, because some folks are in some big trouble.
Some adjustables.
Yeah. Talk to us about like your system and how you're scaling this whole thing, right? Because you said I wrote down 22 units. Of the 22 units, is that 22 single family homes?
No, the majority single family, and then we have a mobile home park with 7 mobile homes. Yeah. And then one of those we sold. The other Airbnb used to be 2. One of those is an Airbnb.
Cool.
And so that's what our portfolio looks like right now.
So about 14 or 15 single family homes.
Yes.
I'm just an analytical systems guy.
You should see his paper in front of him. It's filled.
You got one landscaper that's doing all of those. You got one property manager who's dealing with all the plumbing, and the toilet doesn't work and the sink's not, draining. And
good question.
Who do you have that's handling all that stuff for you? Because what we hear, of course, as real estate agents every day, when we're always telling people buy investment properties, well, they say, well, I don't want to deal with the tenants. And, you sort of have to figure out what your threshold for that sort of thing is. But do you use a property manager? Are you managing it yourself? Are you doing what a lot of other people do and say, oh, my wife will take all those phone calls?
No, my wife would not do that. So I've managed them before. I have managed portions of my long-term rentals, and I've managed my short-term rentals. I don't manage squat now. I said that the 10% fee is worth it to me, and so I don't get called unless it's a repair over $500. And so I spend, unless I'm just looking at properties or we're in a rehab, I'll spend an hour a week on real estate, on my existing real estate. And that's not I'm being dead serious. So I don't do anything on my existing stuff. So I have people who handle all of it. And if I do have to do something, it's an email that says, hey, we got quotes for this tree that needs to cut down. Here's the 3 quotes. Who do you want to go with, and what do you want to do? Hey, tenant's lease needs renewed. Do you want to sell the property, or do you want us to renew it? If so, does this rent price increase look good as a renewal to you? And so that's the extent of what it is free. Now, when it comes to, that's the same for single families and trailers. So, and then when it came to Airbnb, I managed that on my own. So I put as much automation as I could. You can automate a lot of things, but everybody on social media who's preaching, oh, it's so easy, it's all automated, they're full of crap. They're lying like a dog through their teeth. Look, you can only automate so much, and then people start asking questions that only you or only a human can answer. And so there's a lot that goes into it. And so I actually paid my mom. She was like, hey, I'll do it for $500 a month. So I pay her $500 a month. She handles all the questions, all the bookings, But then she still has to manage a cleaning team, right? That's 5 hours away or 4 hours away. And so she keeps tabs on that, keeps the schedules going. And then repairs, we've had thousands of work done, interviewing different folks. So we've done the out of state investing in our Airbnb, and there's some challenges that come with it, but once you get the system down, it goes pretty good. So yes, to answer, my life is very easy with real estate because of property.
Which is beautiful.